I don't normally do this, but hello, and I hope you're having a beautiful day. I just wanted to share a dream that I had. And just a little backup that I am sensitive to the atmosphere. And the atmosphere has been very, very heavy and has been fluidly moving. With great glee and evil. I'm not talking about anything political or things that we see happening. I'm talking about the enemy and his agenda. And so last night I went to sleep, and my husband was sleeping very fitfully. And so I eventually got out of the bed because I could not sleep. And in the past week, two different people have sent me a video to watch from YouTube. It was the same video, and they felt like God had specifically given them my name, my picture, that I needed to watch it, and so I have. There's some pretty miraculous events that took place around me watching that video. But last night, when I couldn't sleep, I got up and watched the video again, third time. God spoke to me some insight and some things that I needed to be aware of. And then at a little before 5 this morning, I crawled in the bed. And I can't remember the last time that I had a dream that was so realistic and so vivid, and seemed to go on and on forever. And so I just wanted to share the dream with you. I asked God to give you eyes to see and ears to hear beyond the surface level, because we are humans and sometimes we get stuck there. And so when the dream started, I knew I was in an underground city. Hallway upon hallway. I was trying to find a way to the surface. Opening doors, it was like a maze of hallways in an underground city. And I remember stopping people and saying, how do I get to the surface? I need to get to the surface. And they would point directions, and I would head in those directions, and they didn't lead anywhere. And then eventually I entered an open space in the city, and it was dark, and it was lit by candles. There were people all around doing things that were evil and perverted. And normally when I enter these types of dreams, which I haven't had for a long time, something clicks in me and I go, oh, like, this is against God. I can't participate in this. But in this dream, there were, I guess, two situations that I began to participate in. I could feel a shift taking place in my body. It was like it wasn't the body of me, Sharon, and what I know to be true. it was if I was entering into a situation of, I don't know, I was experiencing what other people were experiencing. And then suddenly the dream shifted, and I was still in the underground city, but I was in a lighted area. And this creature, not evil looking at all, began to approach me, and I knew right away that it was demonic. It almost had a picture of like a look of glee on its face. And so I held up my hand and I said, "Power be removed." And it exploded and evaporated. That thing happened several times as different things approached me. And then suddenly, like that, I was on the surface in the light. And so, I have been really thinking about this, and I think that it could have, two different meanings. But the one thing that catches me is knowing what I know about myself and my spiritual sensitivity, that I was seeing, or I was sensing what was going on the earth right now, and that there were people locked in darkness that didn't even have an awareness that they were locked away. That was the life that they knew. The other thing is that as a believer, our eyes can be so focused on what is going on around us in this earth that even we begin to think this is all there is. Like, I'm a believer living in a fallen world. Our world is going to hell in a handbasket, right? And yet God is asking us not to exist and dwell in this earthly realm, to remember that where our home is, where we belong, where we sit seated in the heavenlies, and when we stay present in that light, that atmosphere, that reality, then in our walking here on earth, we release that in to the earth. And so I'm just asking you to whether take a step back, to ask God to let you evaluate what is going on, what you're thinking, what you're seeing, and to be able to see it through His eyes. And then, as the authority that He placed here on this earth to release His light, His love, the atmosphere of heaven, the truth that we know, we need to open our mouths. Now, I'm not saying that you may be called to open your mouth on Facebook to address an idea, an agenda. You may be. And if you've prayed about it and Holy Spirit has said yes, open your mouth, because you don't know who's going to hear it. It needs to be from a source of love and light, because if there is any inkling of fear, distrust, all those things that represent the kingdom we don't abide in, don't open your mouth. Okay? But also that we are to be atmosphere shifters. Okay? And so we don't go demon hunting. That is not, our eyes are focused on Him, right? But when we open our mouth, influenced by, inspired by invigorated by the kingdom above in the third heaven, when we open our mouth, we release light. God inhabits his words, and it shifts atmosphere. So I am just saying, open your mouth wherever you are, in the empty room, in your kitchen, in conversation, and speak truth. Whatever truth. God, you are love. In you is no darkness at all. I just influence the atmosphere. Because in my praise and my speaking who he is, he inhabits the praise of his children. And so when we open our mouth and speak that truth, he inhabits it, and the enemy has to back off. We are basically saying, power removed to the atmosphere. And if enough of us were doing that, we would see radiating love and truth filling spaces of darkness that the enemy thinks he has tied up right now. Okay? And so that's all I have to say. I encourage you in love to remember where you are seated. Remember your home. Remember what he's called for. He placed you here at this specific time in history. You serve a purpose. You have authority. Okay? And maybe the only way some people will hear truth is if we are willing to be obedient and shift the atmosphere so that light can get through. All right. I love you. Don't know how this went because it's the first time I've done a live, but that's what I felt like I needed to speak.